Hello, and welcome back to the Authentic Creative, expanding our capacity to feel good. I am your host, Siri Baruc Thornton, and I am so honored and delighted that your soul chose to be here, whether you're a panelist on this Earth Day panel, happy Earth Day, or whether you're listening in today on Earth Day or any day, every day is Earth Day. I'm just so honored that you're here. Not just here listening and here on this panel, but I'm so happy that you're here on this planet at this time. As we know, there is no coincidence that we're all mystically, magically souls here incarnated at this moment in time together on planet Earth. What a blessing it is to be here on planet Earth together today. What a blessing it is to be here with you, listener, and with these incredibly magical, unique, brilliant goddesses of the earth that are such soul sisters, that are so just aligned with their own wisdom. And we, of course, are human. And of course, we pop out of our alignment. And of course, we get lost. We all do. But on this Earth Day, we gather as a sacred circle of women. Even though we're in these boxes on the screen, we're in a circle, metaphorically, spiritually. Spiritual leaders, healers, artists, coaches, mothers, to honor the living intelligence of the earth and the divine feminine within us all. Rooted in reverence, we celebrate our wholeness, creativity, and capacity to feel deeply, to love radically, and to serve boldly. Honoring the earth is a practice of healing ourselves as we expand our capacity to feel good. And by good, I mean feel all of it. We expand our capacity to care for the planet, for each other, and for our shared future. So welcome, dear ones. We're going to explore what it means to expand our capacity to feel good so that we can live, lead, and love from a place of deep integrity and presence. Today, we're gathered for something sacred. This Earth Day panel is a communion, a celebration, a ceremony, an honoring of Mama Earth and the divine feminine that pulses through all of life. We are here as healers, mystics, artists, wisdom keepers to remember Earth as a beloved presence to be cherished. As we share, I invite you to listen deeply, and if you feel called, to revisit each of these women's individual episodes on the Authentic Creative Podcast to hear more of their individual incredible journeys. So before we dive in, I want to briefly honor the women joining me here today, each a radiant force of love and transformation. Sophia Mercier, an artist, world traveler, and author helping others attract cosmic love. Rebecca Schlosser, a trauma-informed breathwork guide and podcast host. Cora Poage, an inner life coach and heart whisperer, guiding us to live in peace and harmony. Heidi Stevens, a spiritual psychologist, microdosing mentor, and earth-honoring homesteader. Janine Wolf, a conscious connected breath coach and sound healing practitioner, bridging spirit and nervous system through breath and vibration. Luana, founder of Cacao Ceremonial Drinking Chocolate, a rainbow bridge between cultures in service to global healing. Tina Aquila, a photographer and divine feminine activator. Shannon Kim, an herbalist, tea alchemist, and intuitive hypnotherapist. Shauna Jones, a ceremonial priestess and healer initiated in global traditions. Johanna Watts, an award-winning actress and nature-loving creature and creative. I love that I said creature. I meant to say creative. Each of these women carries ancient wisdom, embodied creativity, and deep love for this earth. So here's an opening poem for us all. There is a breath beneath the soil, a heartbeat in the ocean's tide. She sings in roots and rain and waits for us to slow down and hear. She asks for presence. She longs to be remembered. Today we gather to speak with her, to listen to the places within ourselves that know the language of moss, the wisdom of wind, the memory of fire. This is our return to reverence, to rhythm, to the radiant truth of being alive together. So I'm very excited to let these amazing women speak. Sierra Sophia Mercier, artist, world traveler, author, and co-host of the altruistic travel series Love, Set, Run. Sierra is in LA. And Sierra, you speak of painting the masterpiece of our lives. How does creative expression serve as a form of earth reverence?
Thank you for this question, Siri. What came up for me in receiving that was that I feel like creative expression is the oldest, most original form of earth reverence. I mean, like cavemen and women painted their experience of life on the side of rock walls. And I think of hula and how every single uh, move is something in nature. And then when it's all danced together, it tells a story. And I'm a floral designer. And so, I
Award-winning floral designer.
thank you. So, floral design takes nature's highest vibrational beings and brings them together, creating art, shape, texture, and color
And
and really
smell.
and smell. Yes, and it creates what I think of as like a symphony. And then that makes me think of musicians that have, throughout history been inspired by nature. I think of Vivaldi and the Four Seasons, bringing like creating music inspired by Mother Earth. And it's just when I start to think about all forms of art, I think of painters, writers, sculptors, jewelers, weavers, like everybody has some sort of influence from our mother.
Hmm.
So it's like those two things go hand in hand for me. And
And I know you're so conscious also about how you eat and how you practice everything, how you travel. I think that is art too. The way that you, Sierra, live, like so in connection with the earth.
thank you. Yeah, I feel like I can't go outside even if I've walked around my neighborhood hundreds of times and not find something new to appreciate about nature and be inspired by and love. And uh yeah, my you mentioned my altruistic travel series. So my husband and I, we backpacked around the world and we did volunteer work in the different countries we visited. So we really wanted to inspire people to make their travels about giving back and getting involved with local communities. And I wanted to share a couple stories actually from that trip. So one of them was that we were in Iceland and we were there for maybe 12 days. We drove around the whole perimeter of the island in a camper van. So we would just like drive until we wanted to stop and get out and enjoy. And that trip to Iceland like really showed me that Mother Nature has the power to heal all of our modern day mental illnesses like anxiety and depression because Iceland is just like Mother Nature in her purest, rawest form, so untouched. And it's like bursting with power. It's this tiny island, but you've got like million-year-old glaciers backed up to active volcanoes and like deep million-year-old canyons that lead to the ocean. And it's just so magical that while we were there, it really brought out our inner child, and we
Mm.
had so much energy. We were just like, and also there's daylight for like 20 hours a day in the summer. So we were just like, these little kids playing in Mother Nature's playground, and it was so healing. So that was one experience. And then on that same backpacking trip, we were in South Africa and we were volunteering at a true lion sanctuary because there's not real lion sanctuaries out there, but this was a true lion sanctuary, Drakenstein, if you ever want to check it out. And it was winter while we were there in the Southern Hemisphere. So it was cold in the mornings, and I would watch as these lions, which, like, if you've ever seen a lion in person, it's just mind-boggling that this creature is real. But they would take these big deep breaths, and I would see the like steam coming out of their mouths, and it just what came to me in those moments was like, wow, like I get to share air with this being. Like I get to share life and breath with this being. Even if I'm on the other side of the planet, we are like breathing simultaneously. And um,
Mm, that's amazing.
I'm just so passionate about celebrating life. I feel like Mother Nature is this like party popper exploding of like, I'm alive, and the diversity is just unbelievable. And like we get to be alive and at the same time as all of that and share in all of that and experience all of that. And I'm just like blown away that I get to be alive alongside those kinds of creatures and like humpback whales and tigers and eagles and walruses and crocodiles and it's like octopuses. Like what? Like they're just unbelievable, and we get to share
That's
share.
amazing. I love your awe. You're just in complete awe of the world. It's so beautiful, Sierra. And just what popped in is, what do you feel is your favorite way to honor Mother Earth? I know every day is like Earth Day for you, but what's like one thing that maybe we could try on that you do, or maybe we already do this, but like what's your favorite thing to do to honor Mother Earth?
Honestly, it is just appreciation and gratitude for what you see, what you can touch, what you can eat, what you can feel, and simply for your life being alive. I
Yeah.
had this incredible experience where I was like soaking in gratitude from all five senses. I was outside, so I was like hearing gratitude, and that appeared as hearing the birds chirping. And I was smelling gratitude, and it was the pine trees. And I was feeling gratitude, and I was just like feeling, oh, I'm in this comfortable chair and like outside and it's warm. And, I went through all five senses, and that was really powerful. And then later in a, like a chanting session, meditation,
Hmm.
I was like, realized I was kind of in a lull, like in a down moment in my life. And I realized like, oh, I'm forgetting gratitude. And so I conjured up that like five sensorial gratitude. And then I was like, but that's my physical body, and I have an etheric body. And like, what does it feel like for my etheric body to absorb gratitude? And I literally had this like burst of aha and realization um, that life itself is an expression of gratitude, and that when we come to when we as individuals really like grasp how precious our life is and feel this immense level of gratitude for simply being alive, we actually pull our entire karmic lineage toward enlightenment. Like everyone that came before us gets pulled toward enlightenment when we live with that sense of gratitude for life.
Oh my gosh, that is incredible. Thank you for that, Sierra. What a golden gem of wisdom. I know that we're all appreciating that so much and that that's going to be infused in us now going forward. So thank you for that. That was beautiful. So, Rebecca Schlosser, breathwork facilitator, yoga teacher, host of Bloom with a Boom podcast. I've had your breathwork, it's incredible. Rebecca, how does breathwork reconnect us to the earth's wisdom and help us move from survival mode, which so much of the time we just, our tendency is to go into survival mode, of course, but how do we move from that into rooted presence through breathwork?
Such a good question. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so honored to be on this panel. And Sierra, that your words are just poetry. I am so happy I'm getting to reconnect with you after months on this podcast through Siri. So I really had this meditative experience when you had given me this question. And I feel like through doing breath work, my relationship to the earth and also the earth and the lands that raised me, which I'll get to in a minute, just really started to strengthen and become so much more profound. So breath work brings us into the present. It brings us into our bodies and out of our minds, and it allows us to feel and start to awaken to what we are and to what supports us, what is around us, those energy, those realms which you do so beautifully in your breathwork Siri, connecting with the earth, connecting with the stars, those realms that support us. And we are the earth. We are children of the earth. So I jotted this little corny poem, which I won't read the whole thing, but the first thing that I thought of was, that like image of a magic carpet ride. We go on a journey when we are doing intentional breathing or breath work, because that's what it is, intentional breathing. And it's like a magic carpet ride, and the earth is like the carpet that we get to ride on because it is supporting us. She is supporting us the whole time. So, breathwork has taught me a lot about safety. The first thing we need to relax into breathwork or really to do anything in our lives is a feeling of safety. And a lot of us associate safety as like, oh my gosh, like, no one's going to hurt me right now. Yeah, that's like a real urgent sense of safety. But there's a lot of other things that can make us feel unsafe without us even being consciously aware of it. And when we can lean into what true safety is, when we lay down to do breath work, the first thing I like to guide people into in my sessions is just feeling those points of contact between their body and the earth. And it doesn't matter if you're on a bed, on the floor, it doesn't matter if you're on the 20th floor of a building, the earth is symbolized and encompassed in whatever surface you are laying on. Of course, it's divine to be outside laying on a beach or laying in the earth and breathing, but we can connect to the earth. And when we feel her support, that allows us to sink into safety. That allows us, and that safety allows us to start going on this journey in breath work. Because in order to meet our emotions, in order to find the story underneath the story, underneath the story, and really start to untangle the stuff that we're ignoring in our busy lives, we have to feel safe. So safety becomes this vehicle for the breath work. And then safety also ends up being the result, because when we're breathing and we're getting into these breathing patterns, we are training our nervous system to feel safe. So we
Yeah.
like to have these effects from the breath work that we can take with us on the other side. And I find like it's so much easier for when someone tells me or cues me, where are you in time and space? The first thing I want to remember is, where am I? My feet are on the ground. I'm sitting in a seat. Having that connection to the earth literally is presence, and it literally is that safety that allows us to. The question was from something to rooted. It wasn't safety. What was the word that you used? Oh my gosh, I'm not
Yeah,
using it.
how does breathwork reconnect us to the earth's wisdom and help us move from survival into rooted
Survival.
presence?
Yeah.
Yeah.
survival mode. So when we are in survival mode, we are not feeling safe. There's no ability to create, there's no ability to get to the next step. When we realize that safety is an inside job, that we can train our nervous system to feel safe, we don't feel like we're in survival mode, even if we are. There's difficult things in life. You're in between apartments, you break up with someone, you lose a job, all of those things happen. But we have such better ammunition to deal with it when we have that grounded presence. And I want to quickly share, mindful of time, that I was on a retreat and we were given this partnered exercise to talk about the land where we are from. So like the land that
Mm,
raised us, the land that we were
mm,
born in.
mm,
And that's a really powerful exercise. So
mm.
I'm starting to believe, just like we have our astrology chart, or just like we have these mapping systems, human design, that kind of maps the things that the nature, right? The things that can predict. The first nurture is that land that raises us. And every time I want to ground into my base, I I've been having these images. I've been giving myself these meditations of remembering the land, the earth the literal point in
Yeah,
time and
you're
space
in
where I
New
was born.
Mexico now, but where did you grow up?
New Jersey, North
Yeah,
Jersey.
yeah, New Jersey, Janine too. And then
Oh, hi.
and then I interrupted you, so go ahead if you had any final thought there. That's
I,
gorgeous.
th-
Ah,
Thank
Rebecca,
you.
I love it because here we are like exchanging breath work all the time and I'm, learning something new today from you. That is a total aha moment. I love it so much. This is great. Just honoring, where did you grow up? What was the earth like? And if you shifted like some of us did from, outside of Boston to Vermont or from Hawaii to, Alaska or whatever, these shifts that can happen, sometimes we move around quite a bit. We can honor all of those places that informed who we are and the earth literally touched our feet and informed our bodies. That's amazing. I love this. Oh my
Thank
gosh.
you.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. You're so good at this. Okay, so Cora
Oh,
Pawaj, our last panel, Cora had to wait until the end, so I was like, she's got to go near the top this time. So, inner life coach, Heart Whisperer, she just came back from facilitating this incredible retreat. Cora, how do we live in harmony with both the inner and outer landscape,
Mm.
especially when the world can feel quite overwhelming?
I was wondering, first of all, thank you. And thanks to the two of you that have shared. You're very, like, the enthusiasm and the passion is so inspiring to me. So I was considering this question and wondering where I would go with it or what would come through. And then I've been sitting here listening, and there's these three flies that somehow got into the house. And they are super attracted to my bedroom always, the flies. Um, and they've been just buzzing around as I've been trying to focus. And I've noticed this like edge of agitation, especially when they land on me and like tickle me. And then I'm thinking of the question, and although the flies aren't overwhelming, it is the outer landscape isn't ideal. And I'm exaggerating this
Yeah.
for the purpose of this conversation. And so then it's like, how do I uh create harmony in this scenario? And so the first thing I would do is I would express the agitation. I would allow it. I would feel it. And because I'm muted, I could even go "Blah," like "Blah." Like this is not good. This is not what I wanted or thought it would be. And then as I let that out, I've heard recently that discomfort, when expressed for 90 seconds, can release completely. It can release. It doesn't even have to be 90 seconds. It can be 10 seconds or 30 seconds, but an uncomfortable emotion can fully release in 90 seconds tops if we give it permission to. So from there, I feel more neutral. I feel more peaceful. I can drop into my seat. I can refocus on you all. I can listen. There's more harmony now between my inner and outer landscape. I'm feeling more peace. And sometimes another little element that really helps me if I'm extra agitated or annoyed or overwhelmed by the external scenario or situation is just parenting myself.
Mm.
It's like rocking myself, speaking out loud, just letting myself know I'm okay, all is well, I've got me. And all of that helps bring the inner and outer landscape into a more peaceful place. So I love that I was given an opportunity. Thanks, flies. And this is, hilarious. They're not even flying around and they're not doing anything now. They've almost, I mean, I don't even see them. So there you go.
That's a perfect analogy. And I love how you're just always so present and in the moment and using exactly what's in the moment to express the wisdom because it completely applies
Mhm,
to all of it.
mhm,
And I
mhm,
love how they disappeared as soon as you expressed it,
mhm,
made it safe for yourself, gave yourself the summer, the high, or the havening, reparented yourself, and then you were like, thank you. And you were able to get to a place of expressing gratitude so quickly.
mhm,
And we can use that in our life for everything.
mhm.
It's a great step process. I love it. And you're just
Thank you.
you're exuding the energy. You were in Costa Rica, right? Yeah,
Yes.
I like feel Costa Rica emanating off of you. It's so good. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Cora. This is amazing. So Heidi Stevens, spiritual psychologist, microdosing mentor, and homesteader. And oh, I didn't say, Cora, where you are right now.
Oh, I'm in Austin, Texas.
Yes. Okay. And so then Heidi, you're outside of LA. What's the name of the town?
I'm in San Diego.
San Diego. Spiritual psychologist, microdosing mentor, homesteader. Question for you, Heidi. How do earth-based microdosing practices create deeper embodiment? And what role does land stewardship play in spiritual evolution? I mean, I know that you could do like a whole seminar on this,
I
but
could. I
you
could
know,
talk for hours. Siri. I feel like I've been in an incubation period over the last year plus, and it's like my little egg is cracking and it's coming out, and it's like I have so much to say. So I'm grateful to be here. Really happy to be here with all you beautiful women. And gosh, microdosing. I will speak specifically about psilocybin, which does come directly from Mother Earth, Gaia. While she has tried to be taken away from us because we can absolutely grow it anywhere and everywhere. This is something that is what I believe is a very, very potent and powerful tool. We know that it's been used by our ancestors for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And there's a reason why it's called plant medicine, earth medicine. I believe with every part of my being that it is here to help us remember who we are and where we came from, and that there's really a coming back to home. There's a calling back to home. Microdosing takes us where we need to go, not always where we want to go. And so there's some common misconceptions, of it being a way out or, a mommy's little helper. And the reality is that it's really an embodiment practice. As somebody that's been practicing and teaching breathwork for well over a decade now, I look at it as a very similar practice as breath work, as deep meditation, of being able to turn down the noise and turn down that default mode network. Our brains, past the ages of 35, we're not able to actually form new neural pathways without us being proactive about it. And so, left to our own devices, we're going to repeat the same patterns, the same actions, the same emotions over and over and over again, which is why we do, all of us, why we all do the work that we do to rewrite, to repattern, to start shifting our neural pathways and seeing things in a new way. And that's exactly what intentional microdosing practice does. It's a tool to support creating new neural pathways and neurogenesis and working with the default mode network in order to rewire and see things in a new way. For me personally, as somebody that has a very strong business background and has always been in my past externally focused, really moving into both working with earth medicine, doing the deeper healing work, it has been such a calling home. And with that has come such a calling home to my land, to the soil, to the garden, to earth. And, you know, it took plant medicine for me to come home in that way. It just did. And there's no shame in that game. Like, it has been such a potent tool for me to get my hands in the soil. And the more that I do, as somebody that has never had a green thumb in my life, over the last year, getting 20 chickens and doing garden beds and planting trees and doing it myself, not outsourcing. I think I feel in this age of Aquarius, we are being called to come home and come more into community. Perhaps you guys saw that meme that was going around that said, we are not supposed to know what's happening in Ukraine and what's happening in the Middle East and what's happening. We are meant to actually live in communities of, 200, 300 people. And I do feel like there is a coming home of learning, to grow our own food. I could go on a whole tangent on this, but, to really start to just become more into homeostasis and to realize that we actually are empowered to feed ourselves, to heal ourselves with medicinal plants in all ways, psychedelic and not psychedelic. And it's just been the most enriching spiritual experience that I've had in quite some time. And I'm really excited to take people on this journey to commune and deepen in a different way.
Heidi, your way of living as I watch it unfold is so inspiring. And I know where you came from, which is hyper achievement and gold medals and that kind of a thing, to really just being so slow and intentional and being with the earth. And I'm really, really inspired. And I was telling my husband, Jake, like, I want to live like Heidi when I grow up. Like, because watching you with the chickens and watching you with the garden beds and watching you grow your own food and watching you be so connected to yourself and so happy and so intentional with the way that you work with microdosing. We had a conversation recently on the podcast, which you guys can go back and listen to, where I was like microdosing, but I was kind of doing it quotes wrong in the sense that I was trying to feel like I was a little bit on a macro dose. And actually, that's not what Heidi's talking about. She's talking about this imperceptible amount that allows your system to make those new neural pathways, to be more present, for Earth to shine a little brighter, to just be able to feel that safety and regulation in your body. So it's really fascinating and amazing. And I really can't wait to take your course and like just kind of experiment a little bit more with having some more guided help with the system. And I just can't wait to keep watching how your homesteading unfolds. So thank you, Heidi.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Janine Wolf, one of my dearest, oldest friends, we've been friends forever.
Over 20 years.
She was my first introduction to breathwork. And we started doing trades Reiki for breathwork in New York City, in Chelsea, and in Astoria years and years ago. Conscious breath coach, sound healing practitioner. Janine, how do sound and conscious breath create a bridge between our nervous system and the natural rhythms of the earth? And feel free to overlap with any of the breathwork wisdom that's come through. I know, we've got a few of us in here.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so beautiful to piggyback, to see everyone's divine expression, their purpose being so beautifully. I feel like I'm in very good company. How do breathwork and sound what was the
Yeah,
within
let
the
me repeat it. So it is, how do sound and conscious breath create a bridge between our nervous system and the natural rhythms of Earth?
Okay. So I always go back to the saying that when our bodies are safe, our minds feel safe to let go. And so breath work and sound are really just one of, I think, many. For me, it was my beginning path to spirituality. But they're just like all these things, they're tools and pathways and gateways to kind of getting us out of our mind. We talked about survival, flight or fight or flight consciousness into that place where we are unharmable, where we're safe and protected. And so, because the natural world around us, it's not always safe and stable. And I think when we do breath and sound, it's a way of kind of getting our body to go with the flow of our lives. And we each have our own unique pathway and journey with that. But it's kind of like this. We always talk, you and I too, always talk about the power of surrender. And I feel like when we're in a state of surrender, which breath work and sound and all these modalities really get us to, then whatever is happening, the natural things that are happening in our life, some, designed by us, some for us, so that we can keep growing and evolving into bigger and more expanded versions of ourselves. I think it helps us do it in a way where we can move with it instead of against it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, and you do sound therapy with sound bowls. So when you're working with the sound bowls, how does the vibration of that, the intuition of that connect you to the earth? Do you feel that connection when you're doing that work? How does it,
Yeah.
if someone's receiving the sound bath, how does that connect them to the earth?
Yeah, I mean, everything is like, ocean drums, and they're all sounds of nature, music, chords, notes. There's science behind it. And they're designed to open up different chakras and different energy centers, but it's all with the sounds of nature, chimes and rain sticks, and it's all gongs, even thunder. It's like all these sounds that
Oh,
pull
got
us
it.
out of our heads and into our bodies, where all the healing, all the truth, all the solutions, all the peace reside. So I feel like it's this amazing, you don't have to work really hard to receive it. It's like that audible massage that you just have to receive and listen and allow the frequencies and the sounds of nature to take you there.
I never actually thought of the chimes and the gong and the sound and the bowls as an echo of nature, to be honest with you. So thank you for that because that's a really good realization. And I think
I work
that's
with a
really
lot of
powerful.
children, and so they hear that. They hear, "Oh, I was in the beach when you did that," or "That's my favorite place," or "Oh, I was in a jungle," and it's transporting. Yeah,
Yeah. Yes. And it can also the memory of just like
memory.
anything sensory just brings us into the present, which I think is a theme here today. Well, thank you, Janine, for being the OG for me of all of this. Luana, founder of Cacao Ceremonial Drinking Chocolate and Global Bridge Between Tribes, Cultures, and Lineages. And oh, by the way, Janine's in LA. Luana is in Maui, Hawaii. And so, question for you, Luana. How has working with cacao taught you about the sacred reciprocity between healing ourselves and healing the earth? And again, I mean, guys, she could teach for days on this, but we're gonna get like a nugget.
Oh, you're right. It's so much gold inside of cacao and what she's taught me. And the type of cacao that I work with, it's the heirloom, native cacao that comes from regenerative wild lands. And so this isn't commodity cacao. And so in that, I've really learned a lot about the natural rhythms of nature and how nature truly works. And it's been very humbling. That would be the big first thing, is like honoring rhythm. So when it comes to healing, when it comes to our life, when it comes to our purpose, not rushing, not forcing, um, not putting pressure on something to get a result. This is one thing that cacao has taught me through. First of all, cacao is such a goddess. She requires so much care and love, and she deserves it for sure. But you go through so many steps to even get this cup of ceremonial cacao. She has to be cared for, and she's very sensitive to different environments, changes in climate, changes in weather. And so she's unpredictable. She's not something we can put into a spreadsheet and say, okay, we're going to get this much every season. We have to surrender to, in the 3D world, it would look like being out of stock. But really, it's just honoring the fact that, in the conditions weren't right for the harvest to take place at the time that we normally expect it. And this has been an invitation into deeply trusting, trusting nature and trusting the cycles that unfold, versus putting our minds conditions on how things should be to make us feel safe. It's actually invited me into really like knowing safety through the earth, versus like the false sense of security that the patriarchy and these 3D systems have trained us to look to.
Yeah.
And so cacao also, she goes through so many processes of fermentation and drying and sun roasting, and then roasting over the fire, and then stone grinding, and then drying, and then chopping back up. Like there's so much that goes into that. And so also recognizing, just again, there's no rush. There's no rush. So I went to Colombia last year to meet with the Arhuaco natives that I work with. They're a beautiful tribe of people in the Sierra Nevadas of Colombia, the heart of the world. And we're working together to bring their cacao to the Western world. And they have such beautiful ways of connecting with the land. They understand truly how to live in harmony with the earth and with all. And they have so much to teach us. They call us the little brothers, and they're the big brothers, and they want to teach us their wisdom. So anyway, when we were talking about the cacao, I asked them questions like, well, how many cacao trees are there? Or I would say things, well, how much cacao do you make, or when? And they told me I was asking the wrong questions. And actually what it kept coming back to is that we don't even need to know those answers. All we have to do together is pray. And so we spent the whole week just praying. Even though they had all these visions and these projects that they wanted to come to life, they were showing me that the way that my mind has been conditioned to make a project happen is actually, it isn't the way that they do it. What they do about it is they pray. And no kidding, I got back to Hawaii, and everything started falling into place. Like it was so miraculous. It brings me to tears because it showed me just how powerful prayer is. So that's the one thing I just wanted to share today, like what cacao has taught me about our healing journey, or about our walk in this lifetime, is that prayer is the most valuable practice we have. And to make sure that we are valuing that every day, and that we're setting time aside to pray, versus to check our emails and get back to messages and create these 3D structures. We just as much have to be working in the spiritual and the energetic. And this is what the Arhuacos and the cacao really have blessed me with.
Oh my gosh. I'm crying the whole time you're talking. The cacao I drink all the time, and it's a heart opener. So here we are, hearts open. It's beautiful to hear about the process. I recently watched the process of how the cacao is made, Luana, and thank you for being a steward of this medicine. It's such a special and integral part of my life. It gives me so much comfort and safety, and it's so magical. So thank you. I love drinking your cacao.
An honor.
And I can't wait to bring it into the retreats that I'm doing coming up because it's a really special part, Jonna can tell you, of the retreats that we've done together.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, beloved. Honored to be here.
Oh, yeah. And I love that you're in Maui so much. And I want to do a retreat with you in Maui. So, Tina Aquila, photographer and divine feminine activator through Boudoir. Okay, Boudoir photo shoots. You guys have to follow her on Instagram because her photo shoots are fucking fire. She empowers women to be in their most sensual states. So, Tina, how do you see photography as a sacred mirror for women to reclaim their bodies and the elemental magic that they hold?
Thank you for unmuting me. Siri, first of all, thank you so much for being here. I feel so honored to be on this panel of amazing, soulful women. I just am taking in absolutely everything every one of you is saying. So thank you so much for inviting me. I'm honored. Your question as to,
Should I repeat it?
yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so how do you see photography as a sacred mirror for women to reclaim their bodies and the elemental magic they hold?
Such a good question. So, photography, or what, I do in the studio is I, don't create any magic. I simply reflect back to you exactly who you are. And when you see yourself as the true and authentic beauty that you are, it's like years of shame and self-doubt and feelings of unworthiness just melt. It can be so transformational and life-changing in that moment, realizing that we've been looking at ourselves, speaking to ourselves through this filter of conditioning that we've picked up right from, little girls, right? And so the work is powerful, but I don't feel I'm special in any way. The woman in front of me is the magic. And tying it back to nature, thinking about how we as women want to zoom in on what we perceive are our flaws and imperfections. When you look at nature and, oh my gosh, all around there's textures, nature changes, there is leaves falling and then regrowth and birth. And I was just thinking about cellulite. Why do we hate our cellulite? Cellulite, think about the bark of an aged tree is covered in this texture. And would we pick it off? Would we try to melt it off? How would that change the authenticity, the history of the tree? And why are we doing that to ourselves? There is so much beauty in who we are already without having to change ourselves in any way. And having said that, I also believe there's absolutely nothing wrong with adorning ourselves with makeup and perfumes and all those things, because look at nature, look at flowers, look at the ocean, look at the blue sky and the sunrises and the sunsets. And it's just, we are that. We are nature. And I think it's such a beautiful thing to be a woman, and it's so beautiful to be connected to our own beauty, inner and outer beauty. And the photography is just like you said, a sacred reflection of all of those things. So what a beautiful question you asked. And thank you for allowing me to share that.
Tina, thank you for the work that you do for women. It's powerful. It's really powerful to reclaim our what's been conditioned out of us. You know, like you said, that we've been conditioned to not like ourselves and to think that our imperfections are wrong and that somehow we can't be in our full sexual essence. And it's such important work that you're doing to really empower us. And I still need to do a session, not need, I want to do a session with you.
I would be honored to photograph you.
I think there would be some tears.
Oh, there always is. And that's totally okay. You know, going back to the safety thing, right? Once we feel safe, we can just unravel and unfold. Much like the breathwork session that I was in with you this morning, I just bawled because I needed to, you know, and I cried and I felt safe.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for that.
I love it. Well, and I know we had talked about having you come to a retreat at some point and do like the final progression of transformation photo shoot. So that would be really fun. I still want to do that with you. So
Me too.
thank you, Tina. So Shannon Kim, Janine Wolf introduced me to. We're just getting to know each other. I'm very grateful. Founder of Self-Love Tea, herbalist and intuitive hypnotherapist. Shannon, can you share how tea and ritual can help us align energetically with the Earth's cycles and embody more love? And I'll repeat that if you need me to.
Thank you so much, Siri. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here amongst all of you powerful, beautiful women. So I'm just grateful to be here in the presence of everybody. Yes, could you please repeat the question?
Of course, yes. So, can you share how tea and ritual can help us align energetically with the Earth's cycles and embody more love?
Yes. So to me, all rituals help us connect with the cycles of nature because often we're creating rituals around nature and wanting to connect to those rhythms. So the self-love tea ritual, which is an affirmation and connection ritual, it helps us connect to ourselves. And a lot of what everybody is saying here about the reclamation and the remembering, and it's exactly that. It's helping you to remember who you truly are. And through that connection with ourselves, we're able to align with our source, that divine connection, that source with nature. And when that channel is open, we are energetically aligned with everything that we want to bring through us and bring to us. We're just all vibrating at the same match. So with that being said, the way that we're able to kind of connect the ritual of tea. So when I do it, it's speaking the affirmations into the tea. So it's that frequency of water, which is that piece of nature. It's creating your sacred space, which is that piece of the earth, and really grounding yourself into that. And then allowing that energy to align with who we are and fill our bodies with that safety, that remembering, that feeling of intention that we want to bring in, and then having that reflection. So to me, any ritual is a way to connect us to the energy that we are wanting to remember, that piece of us that we've forgotten, all of that stuff that's been layered on top of us. And it's like a physical touch point throughout the day because it's all stuff that we know that we're supposed to be doing. We know that we're supposed to love ourselves. We know we're beautiful. We know all of these things and we just forget. And it's because we're human. And so to have a practical tool and a way to remind ourselves, and I think that nature is for me, it's the first line of oh yes, like you can breathe easy. When I see the patterns in nature, the tree, I feel the sun and the wind. It's the first way that I remember that connection to source. And then having a physical reminder, like this beautiful tea ritual, is another way for me to remember that connection to source. And so it's kind of just sitting at that intersection of all of it together to just keep reminding us to remove those layers and just to really remember who we truly are and what we came here to do. Because every day it's just another remembering, we're just human. And so those layers just have to be removed, in the moments. And I really believe in the blessings and the prayers and the frequency of what we're putting into all the things that we put in our body.
Mm. I'm just imagining you doing your ceremonies, and it just feels so good to think about the intentionality, the way that you're using the elements of the earth, the water, putting it into our body with that intention, coming back, remembering who we are, having that sensory touch point. It's so beautiful. All of you and these women, it's just like, oh man, we're such portals to earth magic and wisdom, Mama Earth wisdom. It's so beautiful. Thank you, Shannon. I can't wait to, I want to just interview you one-on-one so I can get your whole story and your whole philosophy and how you work. So can we do that in the future? Yeah.
Yes, please. I would absolutely love that.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, good. Because,
Yes.
yeah, because I haven't gotten to do that yet with you. And everyone else, go back and listen to their episodes. So here we are, Jana Jones, ceremonial priestess, rune shaman, healer with lineages spanning the globe. Jana is local to me, Washugal or Washugal. I don't know. How do you say it, Jana?
I say Washugal.
Washugal.
Yeah.
Okay, so I get to the privilege of getting massages with Jana. Is not everyone gets to do that, but if you come to one of my retreats, she is there usually. What ancient earth honoring traditions do you feel most called to preserve and bring forward in this modern moment? Oh yeah, and I did we say where Tina was located? I'm sorry, I skipped where you're located, Tina. Is she there?
She's muted.
Okay. Sorry, I'm interrupting, going back for 1 second. I just want to say where you are, Tina.
I'm in Vancouver, Canada, just above you, Siri, not too far, right across the border.
Yes. Okay. So back to you, Jana. I'm going to read your question again. Ancient earth honoring traditions do you feel most called to preserve and bring forward in this modern moment?
The ones I feel called to preserve are simply the ones I've been initiated into and that I have teachers in. So one of them comes from Wales. It's Celtic and, well, I guess Celtic and Northern shamanism, like the Northern tribes. So this is a Celtic and, Northern pantheon, like Freya, Odin, those sets of gods.
Cool.
Another one is called the Ch. It's spelled Chod. This is a tantric tradition from Tibet, where instead of like fighting the demons in order to do an exorcism or to get them off of someone, you actually feed them. Like you make them offerings so that they'll be satiated, and the person alone. So that's kind of a like Uno reverse card, compared to what we usually think of with an exorcism. And the other one is based in the Kashmir region of India. Sometimes it's called Sri Vidya, but that one's just based on like, Shiva and Shakti. So more tantric deities. I think for everyone, one clue to some of the most powerful rituals and deities for us to work with are if we follow our own bloodline back, because that's going to tell us, what deities our ancestors were connected with. And they do kind of have a affectionate nature, for the descendants of those who used to work with them and honor them.
Got it.
I also think, all of us can connect with powerful spirits that are based on the very land where we are. So even though I've been initiated into these traditions from around the world, when I actually go out into the forest, I'm connecting with the powerful nature spirits that are here and now. So anyone can start doing it. It's simply a matter of going out into nature and just feeling the presence there. That's really all you have to do. Like, that's how you get started.
So you take people sometimes, well, you do a lot of things. You have like moon rituals, and then sometimes you'll take people through the woods and like show them what each piece of nature means and how to use it. Is there anything maybe you want to share, like one piece of something that you find in nature that you found in nature recently, and like what that property is and how you've used it?
Certainly, something that everyone can find where they are right now is stinging nettles. So these come up in the spring. They're a wonderful tonic, general health tonic. They're not contraindicated for very many things. It would be safe for almost anyone to take it. They're easy to find. They grow like a weed. And when you find them, they're in enormous families. So you can take, as you can fill your basket, and you won't be, harming their ability to, to propagate. Nettles are, so something I love about nettles, in astrological correspondences with herbs, they're a Mars plant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're a Mars plant, because they have the stinger, right? They penetrate you like Mars's spear. The symbol for Mars is the circle with the little like arrow or like devil tail, coming off of it. The roots in particular are said to be good for men, especially for their prostate health. Because they're so rich in minerals, especially iron, they're good for the blood, which is another Mars correspondence. When I was born, there were 5 planets in the sign of Scorpio, which is the feminine Mars-ruled sign, whereas Aries is the masculine Mars-ruled sign. So I always feel a special connection to Mars-ruled plants,
Wow.
even though they're considered more, a bit more masculine. But nettle, like, it puts a fire in your blood, but in a positive, healthy sense. And wherever you get stung by it, it wells up and becomes red. So what's going on there, right? So it's your immune system traveling through your blood that has received the stimulation. I need to go to this place. I need to activate. So anywhere that you want to bring more blood flow into your body, you can actually like rub the stinging nettle on that place, and you can use it to, stimulate your own circulation. My herbalism teacher used to rub it on his bald spot, and to try to get more blood circulation going up there.
Wow. This is amazing. There's obviously a whole world that we could go and dive into.
Right. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
I have my little time run. I'm already at 6 minutes, so.
Yeah. Thank you, Jana, for that. It's amazing. You also do runes. I mean, she's obviously knows about astrology, nature, all of it. It's incredible. I love it. Thank you, Jana. It's so
Thank you.
fascinating. So fascinating. Okay. So Johanna, a dear friend, we shared the same midwife with our home births, which we found out through a friend at a friend's party years later. She is the reason I came back to breathwork the second time and got really deep into it again. So award-winning actress, director, nature lover, and I want to say activist, Johanna, how has your creative journey, and thank you for going last because I know it's a big job, but how has your creative journey been influenced by nature? And what practices keep you grounded as both a mother and an artist?
Thank you, Siri. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for that question. And I want to extend my thanks to everyone who came before me, all of the magnificent women you've gathered on this podcast. Wow, what a powerhouse. Truly, I I feel like my creativity is always grounded first in nature. I live in Los Angeles, but I didn't grow up here. So it's interesting for me, I have to do all of the practices that people just, I mean, we're all human. I don't do it perfectly, but prayer, meditation, getting a view, like connecting to nature through looking at mountains and trees and taking gratitude walks, like walk around and just, even in my urban landscape, look at the trees and just appreciate them for what they're offering today. But I mean, everyone think all of the wisdom in this room, that is the wisdom that I have to employ to stay grounded and connected to nature. And I go there to remember that I am nature. The thing is, nature's not outside and I'm trying to get something. It's like I'm remembering who I am deep in the ancient core that everyone has said, basically. I think we've all, been talking about this way that we are all expression of divine nature and beauty, right? I am the mountain, steady and loving. I am the flower, giving beautifully. But I forget. Every day I forget, especially in this world, right? And it's been interesting for me coming to Los Angeles. I grew up with hippies. I grew up in teepees and sleeping on the earth and identifying plants and chanting with, around fires and circles. I grew up with these ancient practices. But then I came to Los Angeles to forget so that I get to remember all the time, and I struggle with that. There are times I'm like, oh, I just want to get out of here, and I'll get to go camping or I'll go somewhere else. But my karmic path right now is here. So I employ these traditions, but I will say, I also go to my sisters, right? Because we are each of us a piece of nature. And each of you has this divine connection to some wisdom that that I might not know or I might not have access to that day. So for me, I try to anchor myself in a little bit of that primal, natural, grounded self, that like original wild child self, so that I can see it in everyone around me, because each of us has a connection to that original wild pure self that is nature. And as I connect to mine, I get to access that mycelium network, right? That is our human mycelium network of consciousness and connection to nature. And I got a piece of that today. I mean, I got a wild, like, powerhouse explosion of that awareness today. So I am so grateful, and how beautiful that it's not happening around a fire. We're not like sitting and chanting in Costa Rica, which I wish I was. We're on Zoom, right? We can get it even through these more modern technologies, even if there's some part of me that's like, but I want to shield myself from all of it. This is also part of our connection to spirit, to nature, to timeless wisdom.
Yeah. Oh, so many things. I mean, first of all, the I Mountain You story, you guys have to go back and listen to Johanna's episode because there's an incredible story of her showing her love for her husband by saying, I mountain you. There's that. Also, the whole rainbow documentary that you've put together is all about tribe and earth and yeah. And then
Still putting it together.
yes, well, it's important. And and then what you said about sisterhood and that we are nature and we're not separate from it. And this is the through line here in this conversation, many through lines that we have here. But I'm also struck by the luck that we have to be able to be together and the ways in which all of these women, like we're all the mycelium network, we are all deeply intrinsically connected as wise women, mothers of, stewards of the earth. Like this is so powerful for us to come together with our deepest wisdom and to share in this way, to circle up like we used to do, to be in tribe. Yes, it's through technology, but here we are in tribe, circling up and sharing our deepest wisdom and our deepest remembrances. And then you, the listener, gets to remember yourself as nature and remember your truth. So closing poem here, Luana bridges heartbeats of the jungle to our morning altars. Sierra dances between stars and oceans, teaching love through movement and art. Heidi stirs the soil of transformation, tending both mushrooms and soul. Johanna gathers stories from the wind, her feet still in the wild. Tina frames the light in women, unveiling their elemental grace. Shannon pours love into porcelain cups, brewing the sacred in stillness. Rebecca breathes with the brokenhearted, turning pain into power. Jana chants in many tongues, her body an altar to lineages remembered. Cora whispers to the heart until it remembers its original song. Janine moves with the breath of trees, sounding the music of spirit. And you, dear earth, you held us all with your patient pulse, your vast and vibrant knowing. We leave this space woven into your rhythm, lit from within by your remembering. One earth, one circle, one luminous return. So thank you to each of you for showing up with your hearts wide open, for sharing your wisdom, and for modeling what it looks like to live in reverence. What we shared today is a transmission, a remembrance, a return to something ancient and beautifully alive within us. So to those of you listening, thank you for joining this sacred circle. If you felt a resonance with any of the voices here or all of the voices here, I encourage you to explore their full episodes on the Authentic Creative podcast. Each one offers deeper insight into the magic that they carry. Let us continue to expand our capacity to feel good, because when we do, we expand our capacity to serve, to lead, to love, and to live in harmony with all that is sacred. This is your invitation to deepen into this work, to explore these women's voices further, and to continue walking in reverence with the earth. We are going to have a little after party where we're going to all unmute, and anyone who needs to go can go. And anyone that wants to just share anything on their heart, expression of their soul, you can share the ahas that you had from each other. But audience, keep expanding your capacity to feel good, one breath at a time. Loving you.